And it's Dan and James talking about the Villa games.
games.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to the AVFC Faithful podcast. You are joined, as always, by Dan and James, talking through a Villa game. I'm thrilled to be back, James. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I'm getting back into the swing of all the games this month, and looking forward to a busier schedule again ahead. But starting tomorrow with a big one.
Yeah, I mean, Unai Emery is a masterful man, but he's managed to navigate his way through back-to-back 0-0 draws for the first time in his English football history. So if there's any club he was going to do it with, it was going to be us. And if we delve straight into it, if there's any game which you don't really mind having a 0-0 draw, it's a third round game in the fourth round game in the FA Cup against Chelsea away from home. The FA Cup drags so much. Every round is the third round until it's a semi-final. It drags a bit for me. It's a great competition, but I mean, when you're drawing Premier League sides away from home, it's hard to be too thrilled up for it. But we got the ideal result in the end, considering how that first half went, I thought. But I mean, I think you're taking a result like that either way when you're looking at the fact that we're only playing, what is it, one game a week for another month and a half?
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, talking about every round is a third round. Every round has been the third round for the past 9 years for Villa. So we are kind of stuck in the loop, and it's weird to say we were in the hat for the fifth round, which shouldn't be such a high bar, but it has been. But yeah, the game in general, I think it was a game of two halves. To be honest, the first half we were pretty sloppy, and it looked like they played more recently. They looked a bit sharper, on the pitch. And then we grew into it in the second half, and we looked a lot better. We had our chances; they had loads of chances, but you can't really moan about coming away with a replay. You'd rather it than losing. Obviously, I know it's another game for us to play, but as I said, you see the match sharpness when you play that often compared to when you have a break, which obviously does help you physically and mentally, but you do lose that sort of chemistry and connection compared to when you're playing so regularly. And we have got a few absentees we've got to sort of manage and stuff, but in the next couple of days maybe we'll get another couple through the door, whether they're young players or not, which it looks quite likely that will help. But yeah, it would be nice in the next few weeks to have mostly a clean bill of health, and especially Kung Pao Chicken back at the back. That would be really nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because you wouldn't have thought going into the start of the season, before Newcastle away, that you'll be looking at the reverse fixture and realizing that not only have you lost your first main centre-back through a season-ending injury, but I mean, it feels like it's been, we all know it's been too long, but it feels like an age since we last saw Pau Torres at the back for Villa. It is a killer, and that really, let's be honest, it doesn't only just ruin the whole way that we play, but he's a great footballer to watch, and he's also just the presence that you need in both your box and the opposition one. I can't think of any other season where we've lost so many players so infrequent times, if you get what I mean. Don't get me wrong, every team has their injuries. I'm not sitting here saying, the woe is me card that it's only us that's dealing with it, but I can't really remember a player that's had this many injuries sort of like back to back that have kept him out. The only one I can think of is Jack, really, when he had was it the mysterious knee injury? Was it? I think it was knee.
Yeah, something like it was something like that.
Coming back to full fitness, didn't he? Smith was like, "Yeah, he's back in, he's training," and then the next game, not fit enough.
I suppose the other one you could think about was Bailey in his first season.
Yeah.
He did struggle to stay fit, which when you think about it now, that might be one of his best achievements recently. He's just he's fit pretty often now, let alone the fact that he's firing. But yeah, the injuries have stacked up, and more than anything, it's the niggly ones, because you think that they're close to coming back and then they're not. And the likes of Jacob Ramsey, who was back for a little bit, was trying to find form and then has another setback, and then Torres, he's out for so long, and then Luca Dean's out for, I'm not sure how much longer, to be honest, but obviously we had to manage Moreno as well as the two significant long-term injuries. It is just a frustrating time, but I think when you think about that, we've navigated it well. We're still in the top four in the Prem. We're into we're in the hat in the 5th round of the FA Cup. We're into the knockouts of Europa League. I think we've navigated it really well. I mean, I think a lot of teams have this sort of sticky point performance-wise in a season. City have it, for God's sake. They usually start the season like it.
Yeah.
So it's just getting through it, and we'll manage it. And I think when we've got sharp minds again and the busy schedule and different competitions that we're in, I think that'll help.
Yeah, I mean, it also does help that we chose, like you say, this is the best time of year really to have players out because it's the biggest gap between games you'll enjoy. I mean, like we were talking before, it's rare that we've got a Tuesday game in the midst of all of this, so that's always quite comforting as well. Obviously, I think just touching on Chelsea as well, one standout of I think I draw upon your tweet mainly for this from earlier because it was about like everyone's up for sale, sort of not up for sale, but no one's unsellable, so to speak. Emi Martinez, man, this bloke is just I struggle to put to words the amount I love him. The only way I could describe how much I love him is the fact that I've spent probably the past 6 months waiting for the right moment to buy my first ever goalkeeper strip because I don't really care for goalkeepers that much, but this man is more than a goalkeeper. It feels at this stage. He is the very essence of what I want a footballer to be for Villa and a footballer that I would hate to come up against. The most annoying bloke I bet in the world to play against. But was it 4 saves that he made? Just fantastic gamekeeping saves again. And not only that, his distribution has been perfect this season as well. And just off his line so quick, isn't he? Like so we spoke about last year, West Ham. I distinctly remember it.
Leicester.
He had a continuously great game, didn't he? Off the line because they were playing it over the back of our high line. It's just I just struggle to put into words this man at this point, and I think we'll get onto this little question in a bit because we'll get onto financial fair play and all that. But the man is just priceless to me. Although
Yeah, he is.
well, that's their price.
He is, as you say, no one's unsellable, and I think he's one of the top 3 that's probably hardest to replace. I'd probably have him second, but everyone is sellable because it's you have eras in football. Players come and go. You have to build around it so that if you lose a player, you can replace them and so on. But yeah, he's more than just a goalkeeper. It's more than just his saves. He's so good off his line now, and apparently he's not a massive fan of having to play that sweeper keeper role, and he does it basically perfectly. And then you think about how much confidence he must fill the centre backs with.
Yeah,
it's crazy because I mean, when I think about the Everton game when Calvert-Lewin goes through 1-on-1, I don't even think there was one part of me that thought he was going to score that. I thought, Martinez is saving this, and he did. And the defenders must think that, and that's probably what makes it easier to play such a high line because you've got confidence that Emi's going to either sweep up or keep the ball out. And I think his distribution has improved. I think he claims crosses even better nowadays. Like the ball comes in and he's most of the time he's grabbing it, and that is so big when you're facing big pressure because it takes it off of you. So yeah, he's my favourite keeper that we've ever had, and I think he'd probably be quite a lot of people's of recent generations. He's just it is his character as well. I think if you lose him, you lose a lot in the dressing room. He's such a team player and he's such a big personality that I think he can sort of take the limelight off the rest of the team in games and stuff. So it will be a sad day when he's not here anymore, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I can't imagine it at the moment, can you? He's sort of, I mean, you look at like players that are synonymous with eras for different clubs. You got Van Dijk at Liverpool, Salah at Liverpool. You obviously got Rooney at United. It's just Martinez with Villa seems to be the thing now, and it seems to be like he's going to be the one that sticks with it. Hopefully, that sticks through it for everything. Obviously, I don't think he has really a reason to go, unless obviously we don't become a Champions League club and one comes in for him, which the man deserves. He deserves to be playing at the top level, or also he deserves World Cup finals, Champions League finals. He thoroughly deserves that. I think he's incredibly underrated as well. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Villa fans watching this will have seen it. I chose not to watch it because I knew what it would be. But the Triple Eight Sport video about the best goalkeepers, I knew that it wasn't going to be a nuanced discussion. I can assume from what people have said. that it wasn't as open-minded as most goalkeeper chats probably could be. So I think he's definitely a massively underrated keeper. I think people always are so quick to forget about him because he plays for Villa. So long may it continue, because these players going under the radar is only great for us. And I mean, speaking about under the radar, I guess we haven't really spoken about it, but the 5th round tie does put us at home if we do get past Chelsea. So that'll be back-to-back home FA Cup games with the replay, and obviously that fixture against Leeds or Plymouth. I have to ask you who you'd prefer. I think I'm going to know the answer, and I think it might be the same as mine, and it'll be Leeds United.
It has to be Leeds. I think, I'd quite like it either of them. I quite like Plymouth as a team, but yeah, Leeds. It's just got, we're not rivals, but it's got an extra edge to it most of the time. So yeah, that'd be nice. And they bring good fans. So I think that's what you want, because if you can make an atmosphere, you make a good game. So yeah, I'd like Leeds, but we've got to get past Chelsea in the replay. Yeah, which I think we will do. Honestly, at any game at home, I feel confident that we're going to win. Even when performances aren't, as slick as they were at the start of the season, I just feel confident. Even away games, I feel like we're not going to lose until we're losing. So
Yeah.
I think that, I'm really looking forward to the rest of this season. So I don't see any more challenges bigger than another.
No, and I think the only thing it really depends on, I'd like to see Villa price these next 2 cup games, if there is 2 cup games, at least the Chelsea one, well. Because I think they've got a great chance of filling out that stadium. You price it at 25 pound maximum for an adult ticket. That stadium's full straight away on a weekday night. So, and then you price the next game and you're straight through and you're getting into the last stages, and that's what we want really. We want to be in the last stage of 2 cups and fighting in the top 6. So look, I think it'll be an exciting time. I think what isn't an exciting time is the January transfer window. We were both talking before the window came open about how we both love and hate it. I have my love for player watching, and and whenever we used to get the shouts of Dybala come to Villa, that's just gives me a 5-minute window picturing him in claret and blue, putting a nice little Trivela shot outside the box in, and you can get all happy. And then you get sad because you get Villa fans on Twitter saying stuff. I won't delve into too much of it, but obviously this conversation does come off the back of the post earlier from, was it Greg Evans that released it first, or was it Ornstein?
Ornstein, I think, and then Tanswell, I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, goes without saying, the GOAT of Villa reporting, Jacob Tanswell, obviously touched upon it and touched upon the latest stage of apparent interest from Newcastle towards Jacob Ramsey, as well as Tottenham and Bayern Munich. And then Tanswell obviously shouted out the fact that Villa have stated that Jacob Ramsey is not for sale, but it does open us up to the conversation of financial fair play. Now, I'm not going to link the multitude of videos, but there will be loads. If you do just type in Aston Villa FFP, so many other podcasts have spoken about it, made great videos about our situation financially. I would recommend checking them out, because we're not going to delve into it that deep, because at the end of the day, I don't want to. It's been done to death. What I'm more interested in is, let's pretend this is fun, because what's more fun than selling your own players? And I think it's only fair to pretend that we are realistic football fans, and we know that there is a very high chance, that one of our quote unquote superstars goes in the summer. I believe the names touted mainly are Douglas Luiz, Kamara, Jacob Ramsey, and Ollie Watkins and Emi Martinez. So it's the big 5, so to speak. I don't know if there's anyone else really that gets mentioned in that.
Well, I presume that wage-wise, you'd probably be looking at selling Luca Dean as well.
Yeah. But I feel like his departure is more of a replaceable one, so to speak. You get me? Although weirdly enough, wouldn't say that now, because he has been so great this season, whereas we definitely would have said it the summer of last year, where we were keeping both him and Leon Bailey out the door. And now it seems we're ever reliant upon them. I'm interested to hear from you, James. Who would be the one that you think, not that you want to sell, obviously, but you think would make the most sense to sell, and why?
Financially, the most sense probably would be Jacob Ramsey if you could get 50 to 60 million, because you're looking at pure profit, and someone you have to look at it at this time as well, that he isn't in the best form. But you know what sort of potential he has. I think if you're looking for big money and someone that you could replace, for me, I actually think that Louise is quite replaceable. Maybe not to the same standard, but in a different way. And if you're demanding such high money, you've got to be near enough to the £100 million mark for Douglas Luiz. I think that makes sense to me because I wouldn't even consider selling Kamara. I think he's most
I agree.
I think hardest to replace. So I don't think you think about that. And then Emi Martinez next. I think Douglas Luiz is one of my favourite players, and he's a sensational player. But I think there's quite a few players out there that quite good deep conductors / can get in around the box. So I think you could do good business there. It honestly, it's so hard to get your head around at the moment of how it works. So it's almost pointless talking about it. But at some point, you do think we're probably going to have to sell a big player if we want to spend big again, unless we can obviously increase the revenue with Champions League, which would be a massive help. But even Newcastle, you look at that they're needing to sell players as well. It is crazy, isn't it? I understand the point of FFP, so clubs don't overspend to a degree that they can go out of business and that. But you are also halting teams from spending what they actually could probably afford and actually start challenging. It just keeps the top six the big six as the big six. It's unfortunately that's how that works at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, and even they can break FFP allegedly, but rack up enough charges to keep the case going long enough to build up the club honours that they want. I mean, I think it's a well thought system. In for those who aren't watching the video, James has just sneezed and muted himself ever so slightly, but I need to say bless you because I saw it. I think it's a good system that works lower down, perhaps. I think it just doesn't suit a Premier League system where, I mean, all it takes is one owner to come in with a great influx of cash, but that cash becomes somewhat irrelevant due to prior owning. I find that strange. It does massively benefit the Sky Six, clearly. I mean, Newcastle are very, very, very popular amongst the media, but even they can't get around the rules. I mean, we can't get around them anyway whatsoever. I think it's been a murmuring since last year, wasn't it? Really, that FFP was already on our radar back then. You have got to, I think it's a system that it will change. I wouldn't be surprised if we see FFP. I mean, I know they're on about adapting the rules already, aren't they, for next year? I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of years you see it get scrapped and then replaced with a whole new system, and then they go for a year without it. It's worrying more so because it makes you feel completely out of control. So I think in regards to the idea of feeling a bit out of control with your finances and how it comes towards with selling the players that sort of enhance the backbone of your squad, I think if I had to pick one out of those aforementioned five, I would agree with you, it would be Douglas Luiz. I think that does make the most sense position wise, on top of the fact that I think even for what we paid for him, it still comes back to a good amount of profit for what we're expecting. I completely agree with you. You're not looking at anywhere south of 100 million at this point, considering the fact of what he provides, both goals and assists. I think, weirdly enough, I can't bring myself to ever suggest getting rid of Jacob Ramsey as much as I really tried to earlier. And I was sat there for ages making a great tweet about, the sustainability and youth, and just no, it's Jacob Ramsey. I don't want him. No.
Yeah.
Especially not to them. Especially not to them. Yeah, I think if I had to go for my second option, it would be Watkins, and again, that's only because of his age. I think he's probably 2 to 3 years away from probably hitting his Premier League peak. So I think then you're looking at your maximum ability of getting the funds in for him. But again, I don't want him gone at all. I think he's so essential to the way that we play. I think a lot of his game goes sort of hidden amongst a lot of Villa fans, and I think a lot of his positional play, on top of the fact that he is so creative, really does go missing. I think he's so weirdly, he's not only underrated in Premier League football, I think he's just weirdly misrated by our fans as well. And I think everyone believes him to be a number 9 striker, which I mean, Unai Emery clearly doesn't think he is, and nobody thinks he is, and he doesn't play like a number 9. And I think it might be time for a lot of our fans to stop expecting him to be a number 9. But that sort of settles our FFP chat. Again, we're not going to delve into the club's finances because we don't know them, and no one really knows them because half of it gets hidden anyway because you just can't. Anyway, enough about FFP and more about TMO. And by TMO, I mean Tomoz, because tomorrow or today, if you're watching the podcast, is our home match against Newcastle United Football Club. Hashtag sob on the time, James. 8:15 kickoff. From what I can gather, it's a fully sold out crowd. I had a little Gandalf for a ticket or two, and you'd have to pick a pocket or two to get one because there's absolutely none going. I think there was one Upper Trinity, and that was it. So a big crowd, which will be exciting. Tough game. I think it's going to be a tough game without Pau. I'm not sure. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. But I think we were both agreeing that this is the fixture that you look out for, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I do love this game as much as it makes me nervous because that we can both. I mean, usually the home side has the advantage in this fixture quite often, but we're both really good teams on our day, and I think for me this game's going to come down to the 50-50s and who wins them more often. It's going to be a physical game, and I think what's going to carry us through is we haven't been at home in like 31 days, so
Yeah.
the crowd should be going, especially because when we're against Newcastle, just like against how we're saying against Leeds, there's a little bit of an edge, even though we're not rivals. That there's just something there that you want to win that game a little bit more than a Brentford, say, or something like that. I think it's going to be a really good game. I always look forward to playing Newcastle, and I'm pretty confident. Even though it's one of those games where they could just turn up and beat us, they're not in great form. We're in decent form. I think 2 losses in all competitions since the end of September, which is just crazy for us. So, I think all those factors for me together, I think it's going to be a 2-0 win to the Villa.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird you say that, isn't it? It's the fact that you mentioned more up for it than a Brentford game when the Brentford game was probably our most violent in many years to come. So it's just I got weird flashbacks to that because of the refereeing display we had the other week. But I'll be I think it's going to be an interesting game more so because both teams have got injuries that take away that extra edge that both squads can give. But at the same time, I think that the replacements that both squads have got allow them to still continue with the styles that they need to sort of make it a good game for the neutral, which I hope it isn't, because I hope it's just one side absolutely battering down on the other, 5-0 in the first half, and then it's the most boring second half in the world. I could really do with that on a Tuesday night, really. I do. This is a fixture that you look out for now, isn't it? It's the sort of the battle of the trying to be part of the Big Six, and
Yeah,
hopefully it's a lot like last season's because that was arguably one of the most fun games we've ever been able to watch as a Villa fan. So I think it's a late call for Jacob Ramsey. Obviously, we mentioned earlier Pau Torres is out, Luca Digne's still out. I very much appreciate every now and then when someone says, "Oh, Emi Buendia and Tyra Mings won't make this fixture." It's like, yeah, we sort of thought that, guys. I think I saw it the other day. They were like, Tyra Mings will be absent for Newcastle, and I was like, I think he might be absent for a bit more than that, but yeah, that's fine. But again, just quick touch on that. Great seeing the progress he's making, and I think what he's doing with going through his ACL injury and documenting it has been really fascinating because I know it's his second one already, and the video he put out, the first where we all thought he was retiring, was really good, and it's nice to see him, exposing that side of himself because obviously there's so much more to Mings than the footballer, isn't there? I mean, he shows that all the time with the foundation and how outspoken he is with so many other causes that it is just nice to see him. Just it's nice to see him, really, isn't it? So
yeah,
I think it. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. I'm gonna go 3-1 Villa. I do think we concede, but I think it's gonna be one of those first halves where I think it's gonna be 2-0 first half. We concede it in the second. Newcastle press on, we break out, Leon Bailey runs it down the wing, cuts it across, John McGinn slots it in 3-1, and then we can just sail home and be happy about it. And then we finish. That should put us top 3, I believe. Even if Arsenal win, because obviously Man City don't play tomorrow. So
I'd love that, and I think it opens up like a 17-point gap between us and Newcastle if we were to win, which is just mental when you consider last season. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I think for me, to what we have to watch out for, I think they might put like Isaac up against Longley. I think that's a bit of an athletic mismatch. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. Because I think Konsa could deal with him a lot better, even though he did have a tough time in the reverse fixture. But that was just a strange game. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game. But I would say that I think we will win. I think there'd be quite a few Villa fans that are quite confident about that, to be honest.
I think. Sorry, I can't believe if you'd have told us after the first game of the season that by end of January we could have a 17-point gap on them, you'd be laughing them out of court, wouldn't you? Really? So, I can't wait. Premier League football at home, weekday night against a club like Newcastle. It's the things we're starting to love all again, isn't it? This is a fixture I hated a few years ago, by the way. Tuesday night, weekday night, got work the next day, got to watch Villa slog it out against another team. And now I've got something to look for. End of the work day, yes. Why isn't it now?
I know, yeah. Pumped up for it. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I do love like a early week fixture that, it gets you through the start of the week, and then obviously we've got Saturday night then. So I'm looking forward to hopefully recording a Newcastle review and Sheffield United preview after a big win. That'd be nice.
Well, it would be nice. It's been a while since we've been able to record so soon after a win. I'm feeling it in my loins. I think not only us, but I think the AVFC faithful deserve it, because there's a select group of you that have kept through us for that past month where we had our winter break, which we thoroughly needed. So I'm very grateful for just how well the episodes do on their own. I think a lot of people probably smirk at the numbers, but I mean, if you'd have told us when we started this that we'd be averaging 100 views on every episode, we'd laugh you out. I mean, Spotify as well has been doing so great, and our Wrapped went up, and we don't really publicize our Wrapped, but me and James, I pretty much go through it and send everything to James, and we just sit there in amazement that there's people in other countries listening to us to chat absolute shite. It is great, and so many of you get to listen every week to my favorite saying, which is obviously, if you did enjoy the episode, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe for more, or hit the follow button if you are listening for the first time on Spotify. And of course, as always, fondle the bell in order to ensure you never miss another episode, both on Spotify and YouTube, because there is no consistency to when we upload, because we upload for the fun of it, and we love it, and we love bringing you the content. We don't ever want to make this a boring 9 to 5 podcast recording, do we, James? It's the way we do it, just it suits us, and it's much fun, and I think it comes through with the recording. It definitely does, apart from when you have to edit out a chunk because one of you can't speak.
Yeah, we won't talk.
No, not at all. But of course, as always, do stay tuned for any more episodes coming through. Fingers crossed for a massive Villa result tomorrow, and a brand new episode coming through later this week. And until next time, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.